Hey guys, it's Mark Vo with Voland Outdoors. We're going to talk a little bit about shooting at deer that are quartering. There's really only two kinds of shots you want to take in the woods. One of them is broadside to the deer. The other one is called quartering away. You want to shoot them like this. Why do you want to? Because you're coming in from behind the rib cage. If you look, the rib cage on the deer is going to stop right about here. So you're coming in from behind. There's an opening there for you. But if you shoot at a deer that's quartering towards you, everything is working against you. One, he's looking at you. Two, you're entering his body right through his sternum or right through the toughest part of his rib cage right here. In other words, the opportunity for you to actually get at the vital organs behind all of that armor is slim to none. You don't want to take that shot. So if you're practicing, you want to be practicing shooting broadside at the deer because they're going to be looking that way. Occasionally they'll stare right at you. If you're in a ghillie suit like I am, they could be looking right at you while you draw on them. They're not even going to move. Happens to me regularly. And you want to be shooting quartering away. Better entry point. Deer is looking away. He's already passed you. He's already decided you're not a danger. You're not a threat. So he's out looking this way. He's not looking backwards at you unless you make noise. You give him a reason to look a little bit. But we're shooting with the deer quartering away at the target. What I wanted to show you guys is you don't aim for the normal spot anymore. Those areas that are marked out right here on the target, that's not your target. You got to shift everything to the rear because what's happening is the minute it lands, it's going to start entering from this angle, which means the thing you're trying to hit at straight in on this side is now way over here. Coming in at an angle is what you're going to need to do. So practice shooting at a 45-degree angle at your 20-yard shots. Aim to the rear of the deer, center of mass. This one, not so good. These other ones, fantastic. But you notice everything's got to get shifted back. Ultimately, the organs that you hit on the inside, you're going to hit exactly where you need to. Let's talk a little bit more about deer anatomy for a minute. If we use my target from nicetargets.com, you want to give them a try, guys. $7 buys you a target that lasts for several years. It's made out of recycled garbage bags, which means it's waterproof, it's weatherproof. You shoot the hell out of it and it lasts for 2 years. Go buy them. It's a family-owned business. Let's take a look at the deer and ask ourselves, what are we after here? If you shoot here broadside, the arrow continues through the body of the deer and it hits something that's inside the deer this big, you hit it. But if you're entering from an angle at this, then the arrow, by the time it hits the center of the body of the deer, it's way over here. This is where the arrowhead is, but the heart is down inside here, which means if you're going to aim at that heart from quartering away, you have to be way over here. Now comes the tricky part, guys. When you're out in the woods and the deer are active, daylight is almost guaranteed to be low. It's the last hour of the day, 30 minutes before sunset, 30 minutes after sunset, and you can't see crap in these woods. It's hard to even see the legs of the deer. You're not going to see little nuances. You're not going to see hair, color changes, anything like this. You'll be lucky if you make out the antlers, the eyes, the black of the nose, the white of the ears, and you'll be able to make out the legs. You'll be able to make out the top of the deer at a distance. So you got to learn to try to use these clues, the legs, the top of the body, and the fact that there's a rack, as your only landmarks for looking for where center of mass is. And then aiming a little bit. When you're quartering, you're going to aim a fist to the back of it. When you're broadside, aim right for it. You're not going to hit the heart maybe, but you're definitely going to hit the vitals. You're going to pick up the lungs and things like that. So learn to look for those landmarks on the deer. Antlers, head, legs. Don't go looking for fancy nuances, especially color changes on the body for your landmarks, your cues, because in low-level conditions, everything's dark gray. You are not going to get any of that. So learn to identify the center of mass of the deer. You'll do just fine. Quartering away, you're always going to shoot one fist to the rear of center of mass, knowing that the arrow's coming in at an angle and the arrow tip will end up being in the center of mass of the deer where the vitals are coming in from the rear. Let's do an example of what it looks like when it gets dark. I was telling you guys that in the darkness, the deer disappears. It becomes really hard to see all the distinguishing characteristics. Here's a deer that's quartering away, and I'm going to use some of my digital filters to change what you see here. But what you notice is that, see how it's easier to make out the legs on the deer, the back of the deer, even the rack of the deer when you're shooting broadside? But watch what happens when he's quartering away. Notice how the legs literally blur together and you can't see it anymore. You could barely make out the back. You can barely make out the rack, although it's easier. They're turning their heads left and right. You'll pick up that rack, but ultimately, guys, this is the only part that you get to see. And the only clues you have are the backbone here, the side. You might pick up the white of the tail, and that's all you get. You see how the legs are nearly gone? They're really hard to see. And this is what? This is 3:30 in the afternoon right now. So where would I shoot if I'm aiming right here? I'm aiming for the front of the rear thigh is where I'm going to be aiming. Right here, center mass, guys. Center mass. And the arrow, when it enters, is going to finally find the head. It's soft tissue, so it's going to penetrate deeper. It's going to find itself all the way in here. Pass through shots when you're hunting with a recurve bow. It's only 40-45 pounds. That's not a reality, guys. You nick even one rib on the way in, that arrow's staying inside the deer. So don't be thinking about pass-throughs. Thinking about the tip of that arrow, having to get through about 6 inches of flesh, 6 to 8 inches before it's inside the body of the deer, and asking yourself, where's that head going to end up? I want it in the vitals. I want it in the heart. So let's go aim from this distance. What do you really see here? What do you really see, even at 20 yards? Even if I zoom in, that is a tough target, guys. You got to aim for center of mass. You aim for that rear elbow, you know, the front arm, the front leg, and the back of the elbow. You're just kidding yourself. Center of mass, and then shift over just a little bit, like one fist on the target, one fist width to the left, to the rear, and you're aiming at center of mass, and then it's going to come in at an angle and pick up the vital organs. Okay, I just put 5 in. It's freezing cold out right now. It's December 31st, end of the year 2022. Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. And here's what we shot at a 45-degree angle. I'll lift the camera up so you can see it's 45 degrees quartering away. And let's take this apart and see, are these as bad as they look? If we look at this arrow first, and what I need you guys to understand is this: the deer goes all the way into about here. This is where the body of the deer ends. This is about, right here is about 1.5 feet across, the width of the deer. So the arrow needs to go in right about here. Can you guys see that? And we got to ask ourselves, what's here? If the arrow is going in this far and it's going all the way up to here, where is it? And if you bring it back to broadside, you'll see that if you step back, that arrow is right in the vital organs. Here's 2 shots that look like they're fantastic, but really they would have entered the body of the deer and ended up, the tip would have ended up over here. It's very possible that these 2 shots didn't even hit the heart. I'll be lucky. I'll get the deer. Why? Because I would have picked up the front of the lungs. So let's take those out. 1, 2. Here's another one. That one actually nicked the bottom of the deer. Now, it's got to throw it all away. Now let's look at these 2 that look like they're bad shots, like you think you shot it in the stomach. But really, the arrow went in till about here at the center of the deer. And then if you draw a line it down, you realize those are fantastic shots. Right smack in the heart. They would have nicked the heart, definitely would have nicked the both back of both lungs. Those would have been fantastic shots. And where was I aiming? Center of mass and 1 fist back. That's something you can actually see on a deer. You can look at this back, you can look at the backbone, you can pick up the tail. You might be able to pick up the legs. Center of mass is easy to find. Finding a heart by being able to look at a leg that you can't even make out from the from the surrounding flora, no way, no way. But center of mass, yeah, very real. This is Mark Vogt with Voland Outdoor. Just a quick 5-minute tip. Hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe to my channel and learn how to shoot bear bow. Tip of the arrow right on the center of the target in 5 easy steps at any distance. We'll see you out there. Bye. Cut.